For our next session, we have From Startup to Standout, Growing Your Small Business. Our moderator today will be Kimberly Thomas. She's the director of the Fort Bend County Small Business Development Center. And if you don't know about the Small Business Development Centers, please learn. I can say this right now, I wouldn't have all this gray hair if I knew about all the Small Business Development Centers when I tried to start my business. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kimberly Thomas and this panel for self-introductions.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kimberly Thomas. I am the Fort Bend County SBDC Director, and I'm honored today to have a very distinguished panel that will give you a lot of good information about starting your business, growing your business, and some of the resources that are out there. I'd like to start off by asking each one of our panelists to give a brief introduction and let people know who you work for and your titles.
Good morning. My name is Winston Labbe, and it's a pleasure to be here today. So thank you so much to the Texas Summit, Business Summit for the invite. I am the Deputy District Director of the Small Business Administration Houston District Office, where I support our Director, Mark Winchester, in our collaborations with several organizations, our stakeholders, such as the Fort Bend ISD, Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce, and other organizations. We provide education as well, primarily on access to capital and counseling and contracting. And I have two colleagues here today, Valerie Marr and Liz Charles at our table. So come by and visit us before you leave today. Thank you so much.
Jeanette.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeanette Boleware, and I manage the Small Business Program for Fort Bend Independent School District. And on behalf of Dr. Mark Smith, our superintendent, and our Board of Education, I want to say thank you to Brian and all of those that are responsible for allowing us this opportunity to be here. At Fort Bend, we invite you to come and get your slice of pie.
Thank you, Kunal.
Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing today? I believe the most effective way to create generational wealth is through generational access of real estate. And this country allows us the system and mechanism to acquire real estate on a daily basis. My journey started when I came to America to go to grad school. I moved to Houston in 2003 to work for Deloitte & Touche, an accounting firm. But the first thing I did when I moved to Houston was what I bought a home for myself. The system allowed me to put down only 5% and own an asset. Over the years, I worked in corporate America, worked from Deloitte to an accounting firm to an oil and gas company in Transocean. With that company, I would go offshore to the rigs, do operational safety audits. I would work 1 month, get 1 month off. And in 2013, I got my license to be a realtor because I want to be in control of my future. And I made a bold decision of leaving corporate America in the end of 2013 and switched over to joining my business partner, my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, Sonnet. We made the Seth Brothers Real Estate team in our market. While we are brother-in-laws, we thought the team name Seth Brothers sounds much better than Seth Brother-in-Laws. And my inspiration was the team, a show on HGTV called Property Brothers. Over the next decade, we committed ourselves to providing services to over 3,000 families. We closed over $1 billion of sales volume in our market. But fast forward 2023, we made the decision of being owners of real estate rather than leasing offices.
We're going to ask more questions to
Yes.
get into your actual business in just a second.
Absolutely.
So give us just a minute, okay?
Sure.
Thank you so much. The name of the topic for this discussion is From Startup to Standout, Growing Your Small Business. And our attempt today is to have a discussion on some of the resources that are available to you, some of the best practices. Hopefully the topics will be relevant to what it is you're doing today so we can grow, succeed together. So we're going to start off by, I'm going to ask questions and have each one of the panelists Please do as brief as possible. We only have 40 minutes, and then we do want to have time for question and answer. So if you would keep your answers as brief as possible, I would really appreciate that. So we're going to start with one of the hot topics I find in our office in advising, and that is government contracting. And we have an actual expert in that area with the Fort Bend ISD Small Business Enterprise Program. So Jeanette, my first question is to you, and that question is, what steps should a small business take to get started in government contracting?
The first thing you want to do is register your business with the particular organization that you would like to get a contract from. And remember, when you're registering, please read everything, even the fine print, so that you can register and put in the information in your profile what that particular organization is looking for. And the next thing, you want to make sure that you're certified and you're registered in sam.gov.
Very good. So the next question I have is along the same lines with government contracting. Jeanette, can you tell me what is the importance of having funding already in place when it comes to being prepared for a government contract bid?
A lot of time, and that, Kim, that is one of the issues or concerns that a lot of businesses are saying. You know, how do I get funding? I'm a small business, I'm just getting started. What do I do? There are several things you can do. Primeway is here, Wallace Bank is here, and I'm just naming a few, and Winston is probably going to go into more detail about that. But you want to go to these particular financial institutions to ensure you have the capital that you need to fund your contract until you're actually able to get paid for the work or the services that you provide.
So Winston, that leads me right to you. We've had a brief conversation in the last couple of days about access to capital. So I'm going to put that in your ballpark and let you answer that question and give them some information on funding.
Thank you so much, Kim. When that question was asked of Jeanette, I'd raised my hand. You guys couldn't see me, but in reference to funding, that is, especially when it comes to contracts, one of the pitfalls that I see, and I was a commercial lender for 25 years here in Houston before I joined the SBA, so I'm speaking from my lending perspective in the SBA, but when it comes to contracts, as Jeanette said, my friend Jeanette, make sure you have your funding in place. She mentioned Primeway, Wallace Bank, and others, but we have a new pilot, P-I-L-O-T, a new working capital pilot program that can be used for contract financing, okay? There are a few banks in Houston that participate. Right now, I believe we have 5 or 6, but I would ask that you please visit with me after if you do have a contract or in the process of bidding on one, and I can give you more guidance on that. But Wallace Bank is one of those banks that does participate, but make sure before you bid on that contract, as Jeanette just said, have your funding in place, or at least have a commitment from a lender in place subject to you getting that contract. Because the worst thing you want to do is win the contract, and now you need financing. And then you become stressed out. You go to, I'm speaking from a lender now, you're stressed out, you go to the lending institution, say, I need this money tomorrow, yesterday. So make sure you speak to a lender before you bid on that contract. So thank you, Jeanette, for what you said.
Excellent. As a advisor as well as the director at the Fort Bend Small Business Development Center, that's one of the biggest challenges that our small businesses have is access to capital. So I'm going to go to Kunal, and I'm going to ask you, one of the things that we're talking about, of course, is funding. And it's been my experience that a lot of my small business owners go out and lease a property before they get funding. So in your expertise and your experience, tell me what you think would be the best way for a small business to start off and get an actual brick and mortar. What would they need?
So depending on what business you're running, if that requires you to interact with clients and customers, I truly believe a face-to-face interaction gets you the most leverage. While we have Zoom, virtual platforms, but the energy you can read of people is the most effective. So what's a blessing for us is we have an opportunity to get office space in co-working environment. There are several brands. One down the street in the Sugar Land Town Center is Regis. For a nominal fee, you can become a member. You have a front desk person. You have the amenities in that space. And you can also get a private office there. What that allows a small business owner to do is, when somebody walks up to meet with you, the front desk person greets them and lets them know their professional environment they're walking into. So in my opinion, taking baby steps as a small business owner, being in an environment of professionalism and success is critical. If a business need allow you to have the success by renting office space, take that step. If your business needs allows you to have a physical space, do that. But in my opinion, jumping the gun, leasing a big office space to run your business or owning your own building or space is step 2 or step 3. So start off with being in an environment, especially in a co-working space, allows you to have a space environment which is professional, allows you to demonstrate success to your clients and customers.
With a follow-up question to that, Kunal, I want to ask you, and this is one of the challenges also that small businesses have when they're starting out and they're registering for their LLC, they typically do not want to have their home address on the website. So will they be able to use that co-working space as an address that they can use for registering their LLC?
Absolutely, yes. So most co-working spaces have the setup where you can use a virtual address. So they will give you their physical address. You can receive mails and also mail out. So yes, co-working spaces allow you to do that. But I would highly, highly recommend, do not put your personal address out there in your business environment. That does not demonstrate professionalism.
Very good. Winston, can you add to that, please?
Yes, I wanted to mention in terms of capital and access to capital, we talked about financing contracts and how important it is to have your funding or financing in place. Same thing with leasing. If you're leasing a location or you're researching a location, you identify at the spot and now you want to lease it, make sure if you don't have the liquidity, make sure you go ahead and visit with the lender before you sign that lease. Because you sign that lease and then you need working capital, again, now you're struggling, you're trying to get financing after the fact. So if you can, one or two things you can do. If you have to sign that lease, if the landlord is saying, hey, if you don't sign this lease, someone else is in line for it, then at least put some wording in there that is subject to financing, subject to you obtaining your financing. That way, if in the event, worst case scenario, you don't get approved, then you can get out of the lease. So I just make sure that you put that wording in on the front end or try to get your financing before you sign the lease. So just wanted to put that out there. And one more thing I thought about. Okay. When it comes to leasing also, when you have the conversation with that landlord or the owner of that building, if you're going to get financing, the lender is going to ask that landlord to sign a landlord's waiver. Okay? A landlord's waiver gives the lender the right to go in if there is a default and obtain the collateral for the loan. So make sure you have that conversation with the landlord before you enter into a lease, because if the landlord is not willing to sign it, then it's going to create some challenges for you from a financing standpoint.
And I'm so glad you said that. That's also one of the challenges that we've had over and over again, that of course entrepreneurs are the most optimistic people in the world, so they have a great idea and want to get a brick and mortar immediately, and you really need to get the funding back first. So there's two things I definitely think is important. One, you need to have a realtor, a commercial realtor that is representing you and an advocate for you, as well as getting your funding. So the next thing I want to go to is, let's talk a little bit more about government contracting. That's one of the key topics that we have in our office on a consistent basis. Jeanette, my question to you is, how does certifications open the door for federal opportunities as well as state, local, county, school districts? How important are those certifications, and what are some of the certifications that are needed?
It is critical that you are certified. And when I say critical, a lot of the organizations, including Fort Bend ISD, is required to ask you about certifications. And what that means is, when we're looking for small businesses, we'll look for those that are certified small business. So what entities certifies you? For Fort Bend, it's the City of Houston, Metro, and the United States Small Business Administration. For the City of Houston, we accept SBE, MBE, WBE, and PDBE. Metro is SBE. And if you're in the Ports Enrollment Program, it's SBE. And of course, my partner here and friend Winston with the United States Small Business Administration is to 8A. I know that there are a number of certifications out there, but when you're looking for contracts with the various organizations, please ensure that you find out which certifications they're looking for and adhere to that.
Winston, I'd like you to follow up with that. The SBDCs are a resource partner to the SBA. So please tell us a few more resources or how they can get help with those certifications.
Thank you so much for that question. So our partners, resource partners, the SBDC, the SCORE is here today, and we have 3 women business centers in Houston as well. Those are our resource partners, and they provide their services free of charge. And so I would encourage you to use them, reach out to them for guidance. And then there's Apex. APEX is another resource partner. Apex Accelerators helps with contracting, helps you register, helps you identify opportunities, but they also tell you if you're ready or not for contracting. That's Apex. If you stop by our table, we can give you that contact information. So Apex, definitely reach out to them for assistance. SBDC, SCORE, and our 2 women business centers, and free of charge. So I would encourage that.
Very good. So the next thing I want to switch to is relationship building. I want to know from each of you how important it is to build relationships with those partners that will support small businesses, and tell us where they can find some of those relationships are the most important areas. Let's start with Kunal.
Absolutely. So the business I'm in, I'm a professional licensed real estate agent, and Houston has 50,000 of us over here. In my opinion, my business is considered more of a merit-based business. People say I've been in the business for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I believe my industry is service-based, where it depends on how I service my clients gets me success with my customers and getting success with a transaction. That concept applies to any and every business that you run. If you consider yourself as a service-based provider, building relationship, building partnership with industry leaders is critical. And that's not just done by finding the right customers, but being involved with the local organizations, being involved with your HOA, being involved with the local community. Putting your name out there, a value-added partner creates a relationship. That's the foundation of being successful. I'm not sitting here based on the transaction success I have. It's based on relationship I've built over the years in the market. So building relationship is the foundation. Find the leaders, get organized, and join local organization within your industry.
Jeanette, how important are relationships in your arena?
In our arena in Fort Bend ISD, we host quarterly workshops and virtual information sessions. And I just want to throw a little tidbit in to everybody that on your table you have an event that's going to come up on June 25th. It is a free event. And we're calling all businesses, all vendors that are interested in doing business, not only with Fort Bend ISD, but our partners as well, to come to this free event. That's how you build relationships. That's how we learn about you, your trade, and what we have, the opportunities we have. And I mentioned about the slice of pie. It's just $1.26 billion. So I think everybody in the room would like a slice of that.
Winston, I'm going to really pick on you on this question because I also want you to really give us information on tips to build those relationships with lenders and how you build relationships with lenders on behalf of the SBA.
Thank you so much. That's a softball question because I love it, right? I love talking about relationships. First of all, how many small businesses are in the room? If you just raise your hand, if you own a small business, or you plan on starting one? Raise it back. Okay, good. Just want to get an idea. All right, good. All right, so relationships. From a lending standpoint, you heard me mention that I was a lender for 25 years. And so when I joined the SBA 5 years ago, I realized it was the best of both worlds because I come from lending, and now I'm on the kind of the business and lending side. So when it gets to lending, and I moderate, I'm usually in this chair where she is, okay? But anyway, I moderate panels quite often. But when I have a conversation with the community, I share with the small businesses or those who plan on starting is reach out to your lender. Where your money is right now, I would recommend you go to that bank or that credit union, Prime Ways in the house, that credit union first, and ask them, do you guys finance businesses? That's number one. If they say yes, then if you, let's say in the restaurant business, ask them, do they finance restaurants? If they say yes, but then you want to start talking about your business. I'm planning on starting a restaurant, I own a restaurant, and you start creating that dialogue and ongoing dialogue so that when you are ready for financing, now Sonia with Prime Way or Angelo, they know who you are, they know you want to grow, they want to start your business. So have that conversation, but be transparent as well. Lenders do not like surprises. I was talking to a lender this morning. I won't call her name out, but I was talking to a lender this morning. And when they ask for information, give them what they're asking for. Give them a complete package. Because when they have that information, they're going to run with it and try to help you get your financing. Lenders have goals to reach. They want to provide financing, but you need to help them. So develop the relationship. If I could say one more thing about relationship, I was talking to a young lady here this morning. She's a small business owner, and we were talking about what's going on with her. And she said, well, you know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And she was thinking about joining a chamber. I said, look, you can do a lot of business, get a lot of value out of chambers, but I heard one of the panelists before this panel say, but you have to plug in, okay? You have to get involved on the committees, get to know people. I went through the Fort Bend Leadership Forum years ago. I didn't think I needed it. Carrie's here. Raise your hand, Carrie in the back. Okay. So when I was in banking, I was suggested I go through the program. I said, I don't need the program. I know everybody in Houston. Why? Okay. So, but I went on and went through it. The best decision I ever made in my life. You meet so many people. You leverage those relationships, but you have to work it. You can't just say I'm on a chamber. Are you involved in the chamber? So, work the chamber, work the organization you're in. Be involved. Be intentional, and then also develop those relationships with the lenders.
Very good. So let's switch gears just a little bit, and we're going to really talk about small businesses that are just starting up. In our topic today, it's talking about starting up and standing out. So each one of you have experience with small businesses and networking events. Give me a tip on what would make a small business really stand out in your opinion. And let's start with Jeanette. Let's give the lady the first shot at this one.
Make sure, and I'm going to repeat this, make sure that you are connected with SCORE, the SBDC. Make sure your marketing, make sure your brand is there and your brand stand out. Make sure you target the right audience so that you can get those opportunities. It is important that you brand so that your business stands out among all other businesses.
Winston, you are all over the city on a consistent basis in hundreds of forums all the time, networking. What would make a small business stand out to you?
You know, what stands out for me and my colleagues is when the business knows the business, right? If they know what they're doing, if they can just answer just simple questions about what is their strategy, you know, who is their competition, what are their services and products they're offering. They don't need to know, how to calculate ratios. The banks do all that, but at least know your business. And then just be visible, be present, be present. But I will caution you on that being present because, again, it goes back to the previous panel talked about marketing. I had this conversation again with the small business owner. It's one thing to attend events, every forum, as you just mentioned, because I see some of the businesses at every forum. And I asked them, are you getting anything out of these events? But be intentional. Market your business. Learn how to market your business. That's the other thing. Learn how to market your business effectively. But to go back to your point, if they know the business, if I can determine just from a simple conversation, has this person done their homework? Have they visited with you guys at SBDC, at SCORE? Then it stands out to me because I say, okay, now they're ready. They're ready to go to a bank for financing. So just know your business.
Kunal, I'd like to ask you a follow-up question to that. You are a small business owner. So when you walk into a room in a networking event and you have that opportunity to build relationships and network and stand out, tell me a little bit about what you do.
Happy to share that. Let me give you an ugly truth. Nobody cares about you or your business. They don't care about my business. What they care about is your why. Why are you in the business of financial institution, lending, realtor, whatever that may be? Your why is the most critical part. Whether you're at a networking event, on a panel discussion, or at an opportunity to engage with people, people really do not care what you do. But when you lead by sharing with them your belief system, why you got in the business of selling toys, having a grocery store, or being in the real estate industry, that is the most important thing. And it has to be truthful. The latest trend right now is AI. Everyone is getting towards that. Does that mean you should get into being in AI world? Potentially, yes, only if you're passionate about it. So it's very simple. It's not rocket science. Your passion has to be worn on your sleeve, has to be evident no matter who talks to you and where they talk to you. They must associate you with a brand. Now, whatever business you build, it's not about the transactions. It's not about how many homes you sell, how many toys you sell. It's about how you are helping others be more successful. I have a simple philosophy in life. Most people are goal-driven. I'm vision-driven. Then comes value I give to other people. And the last is the ask. Vision, value, ask. Most people lead by the ask. In my industry, I'm a realtor. You want to buy a home? I'm leading by my ask because I want to earn commission through that transaction. But when I lead by value, helping them be more successful, sharing knowledge base, sharing expertise, helping them make the right financial decision, my ask ultimately will get fulfilled. So no matter what business you're in, evaluate how you can add value to your market, to the industry, and to your customers. Once you do that effectively over and over again, ultimately your ask will get fulfilled.
Very good. Thank you for that. I want to back up just a little bit because one of the other questions that we get at the SBDC all the time is how we are connected with the SBA. So Winston, can you please tell us how the SBA actually advocates for small businesses and what actually you do for small businesses?
Thank you. That's a great question. You mentioned advocate. So we collaborate right now today. As I speak, we have 7 employees at the Houston District Office. One of the lenders I was talking to this morning asked me, "Are you guys busy?" I said, "Yes, we are." I said, "We have 7 staff members. 3 are at NASA right now doing presentations. Okay, 1 is over in the Martin Luther King area doing the training on 504 lending, and then 3 of us are here today. So all of us out of the office providing knowledge and education, whether it's training, whether it's talking about certification, whether it talks about relationships. And so the SBA is about helping businesses start, grow, and expand, okay? Or if there's a crisis or disaster, then in those situations, the SBA will loan money directly. Other than that, the small business will reach out to one of the lenders. We have 140 plus lenders that provide lending in our 32 counties. Okay, so what we do at the SBA on a regular basis, on a daily basis, we receive phone calls, emails saying, "I need financing," and we say, okay, we don't do financing directly, but we can certainly connect you with those lenders. We know what the lenders are doing. We know what type of industries they finance. We know what their dollar range is, and so we can refer you either to 3 or 4 lenders, or we refer you to our SBDC, our partners. And that's what we primarily would do. The SBDC, back to your question, Kim, they provide the service, and I say they're like, even though they don't do finance, and I say one-stop capital shop, but they can help the small business. If they're starting a business, they need a business plan, they can help them prepare their business plan. If they have a business plan, they can look at it, recommend tweaks to the business plan, marketing, strategy, competition. IT, AI, whatever that small business needs, our resource partners, SBDC and SCORE and others, can help with that. So the difference is we're the SBA, the Small Business Administration, United States government agency, and then we have our resource partners, SBDC, SCORE, and the Women Business Centers. And we provide them with partial funding. That's why they are our partners. But we recommend small businesses start with them first and then reach out to a lender. But again, you can reach out to us. We do a lot of training. I just mentioned all of us out in the field today doing training for small businesses. We do lender training. We identify lenders that don't participate in the program. And we ask, why don't you participate in the program? And we tell them the benefit to the lending institution and the benefit to the small business.
Very good. Since we are a resource partner to the SBA, I just want to make one clarification. There's only one office center for the SBDC here today, which is the Fort Bend, the center that I am the director at. But I want to let you know that we have 14 centers over the Southeast Texas region, and we cover 32 counties. So although I would love each and every one of you to go to our table and sit down with us, I want you to know that there's other resources, there are other centers. And I just wanted to make sure, because we are a resource partner. So I want to go back to government contracting one more time, only because government contracting has so many opportunities and there is so much misconception out there and misinformation. I want Jeanette, please tell us which industries can benefit from government contracting? What type of businesses?
If we talk about what type of businesses Fort Bend is looking for, it's all trades, but we particularly look at businesses in construction and renovations. You can benefit from those because if you have a relationship and you come to our workshops and you meet Kim, the SBDC, and some of our resource partners, the SBA, and some of the prime contractors, if you're a sub, you can meet those prime contractors and benefit or capitalize on those opportunities. And while we have several opportunities, whether it's construction, non-construction, goods and services, professional services, they're all contracts, and you certainly can benefit from those. And I do have my business cards, so I can meet with some of you all after this event.
So this panel, once again, is based on resources that can support you. 2 of 3 of us up here are government resources. However, Kunal is a small business owner. And one of the most expensive parts of running a business is lease or monthly rental or monthly mortgages. Those are high expenses. So, Kunal, I want you to answer the question around how important is it for a small business owner to have a commercial realtor that advocates for them?
We have ChatGPT, we have Doctors Online, and we have Zillow.com. But having a professional by your side who can gauge the market, give the right financial advice is imperative. Whether you're looking to lease or buy, working with a professional is important because they have the knowledge base and expertise to help you make the right financial decision. Essentially, the expense of hiring a professional is known. 1%, 2%, 3%, X% is known. The expense is known of engaging with a professional. But the upside of getting right financial advice is unlimited. Or making the wrong decision when you go on your own, find a home or find a commercial space on your own, the downside is also unknown. So in my opinion, no matter what you're seeking, professional advice from a realtor, professional advice from an attorney or from a doctor, always engage and evaluate who you should be working with. I believe in a simple mantra. Cost is a concern when there's lack of value. If I don't add enough value to my clients and customers, the commission I earn as a commercial agent is always going to be questioned. So look back and see what business you're in and the cost that you're charging. If you over-deliver the value that you add to your clients and customers, no matter what fee you charge, will never be questioned.
Winston, would you like to add to that?
Yes, I would. So, and thank you for your response. But the other person or individual that you need is an accountant. Okay,
Yes.
CPA, bookkeeper. Please engage. Please develop a relationship with a CPA, accountant, bookkeeper, because they can help you stay on track. They're going to need financial statements and tax returns when you apply for a loan, whether it's a SBA loan or a conventional. The difference is SBA, we guarantee, don't think I got into that, but the SBA, we guarantee the loan 75%, up to $5 million. We guarantee for the lender in the event of default, gives you, the small business, a longer amortization, meaning a lower payment, less out-of-pocket expenses. However, when you go to apply for a loan, whether it's a SBA or a non-SBA, it's always good to have a CPA or accountant or bookkeeper to help you. So I just want to make sure I put that out there.
That is excellent advice to make sure that you have those professionals acting on your behalf and giving you the information. From those small business owners that are in the audience right now, how many of you are accountants? So we have a room full of small business owners that do not have professional expertise around accounting. Need I say more? Very good. So the next thing I want to ask before we have Q&A is I want each of you to give me one best practice or piece of advice for anybody who's wanting to start a business or have just started a business. What would be the best piece of advice? Let's start with you, Winston.
Well, the best piece of advice, and I know I spoke to it earlier and I'll say it again, make sure you visit with the SBDC. They have several, I think you said 14 offices around the 32 counties that we cover, or SCORE. SCORE is here. If SCORE can raise their hand, I know they're here. They're right in the back. Thank you so much. See, he stood up. SCORE. And then we have 2 women business centers. Not sure if anyone here is from the Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce or the WBEA, but start with them first. Whether you are starting from scratch or you've already opened the doors of your business, you still should visit, have a CPA, bookkeeper, but visit with one of our resource partners because they can provide you with that valuable or invaluable guidance that you need. So start there first.
Jeanette, what would you say?
Well, at Fort Bend ISD, I actually host a one-on-one meeting with any vendor that is interested in doing business with Fort Bend ISD. And in it, I give them a handout. And that handout, it referred them to the SBDC, the United States Small Business Administration, and SCORE, and there are other helpful tidbits included in that handout.
And Kunal, give me one tip that you would give, and then after he finishes, we'll do Q&A.
So the most misused word in this room, beyond this room, is I'm an entrepreneur. Most of us are self-employed people who want to take it easy, have a nice life, wake up when you want to wake up, but not be committed. In my opinion, when you're an entrepreneur, for you to evaluate the worth of your time and evaluate things that you should and should not do makes the biggest difference. For lack of a better term, most business owners, entrepreneurs, or self-employed people are control freaks. They think they are the best at doing everything, and they want to do everything on their own. That's the biggest mistake most small business owners do. What you need to do is evaluate your hourly's worth. And it's a simple math. If you project to make $100,000 a year, your hourly worth is $50. If you want to make $200,000, your hourly worth is $100. Evaluate tasks and things that you're doing on a daily basis that can be outsourced or delegated to somebody else. Because your time should be spent in money-making activities that grows your business. That's what differentiates between a self-employed person and an entrepreneur. The day you learn that, to give up that control and hire resources and delegate, your growth is going to be exponential.
Very good. So now this would be a time that you give us your best questions and let us give you our best answers.
All right, don't be shy.
Okay. Hi, hello. I'm Amani Young. I want to say thank you first for all that helpful information. And I just had a quick question about the LLC. So I know that you were saying that not to put your home address. You have to have an address, right? Okay, and so should we consider co-working spaces before applying for our LLC? Something like that.
So the question is that if you want to set up a new LLC, do you need an address, correct? Yes. The answer is absolutely yes. They will not register your LLC without having an address. But I truly believe before setting up an LLC, you must have a business plan. If your business does not require client-to-client interaction or face-to-face meetings, and your business is a virtual business, then maybe you should not even consider getting a virtual space at a co-working environment. But you must have an address. Maybe having an address. Most LLCs will not allow you to have a post box address. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, so it has to be a physical address. If you have no choice, give your home address, but finding an opportunity to give an address that's not your home address would be my recommendation.
I'd like to tag something on that. Before you take on any expenses for your business, I need for you to sit down and understand what your startup costs are. And that means use one of these resources, because let's say you go and get a co-working space, and there's a monthly expense that's being incurred, but you haven't planned for your first piece of revenue yet. So I understand that that's a very good thing to do, but make sure you understand your startup cost first.
Let me add something really quick. Most CPAs, accounting firms, actually provide that service. So if you hire a professional accountant, some of them in this room, they can use their address when they file for your LLC and receive all the mail. So that's also an option. Consider that as well.
One of the things that I think that small businesses don't take into consideration is the regulatory stuff behind the business that they're going to open, whether it's at the local level or at the state level, and how if you're not staying on top of that, it can have an impact on your business. So have any of you experienced anything like that in terms of needing that information before you started, but once you were in business, actually having to get more involved maybe in politics and things like that in Austin because regulations might be changed that are going to affect your business?
He was talking about regulations and keeping up to date on those regulations. It depends on the industry, but once again, I am a firm believer that you need to know all the background of your business before you even start. The resource partners to the SBA, like the SBDC, SCORE, Apex Accelerator, a lot of those advisors can give you that information. And if we don't have the information, we typically know where to send you to get that information. There are times where individuals, especially when it comes around taxes, don't understand the tax structure and what the responsibilities are. So we can help with at least pointing you to the right direction to get that information. But it's absolutely important to stay on top of that. And I believe that you should know it before you even start. Okay. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Marcel Reyes. I'm from Texas Food Truck Rentals. I had a question about being certified with the Fort Bend Independent School District. You said that you have to be certified to do work. I think you mentioned these certifications you can get, but what does it mean to be certified? I'm sure you have to apply and do some items, but what does that look like to do that?
I actually have a handout that I can share with you after we step down. You can get my business card and email me, and I can walk you through those steps and what you need to do to become certified to do business with Fort Bend ISD.
I think that's our time. I want to say thank you to the great panelists and all the information that you guys have given us. We will be here to answer more questions. I appreciate each and every one of your small businesses and what you add to the community. And once again, shameless plug, the SBDC is here to help, and we are at no cost. service for you. You've already paid for it literally with your tax dollars. So use us up. We're one of the best kept secrets, and I really appreciate this opportunity to have this time spent with each and every one of you.